C-Rob is a present for you hanging out with us on a Tuesday. We do Rise, Repeat, Retreat. We pick a different division every week. We tell you, here's the premise, guys. How did you feel about this team now versus a year ago right now? Okay, so we're just kind of getting that sense. And if you've missed any of the other divisions we've done, check it out. It's out on YouTube. It's out on social media. You should check it out. This week, we got the juggernaut known as the NFC South. All right, so NFC South. You're welcome, C-Rob. Let's start with the just the best of the best. The Saints, over and under 5.5 wins. They went 5-12 last year. Today, right now, C-Rob, are you rise, repeat, or retreat compared to how you felt a year ago today on the Saints?
Repeat, 5-12? I think they could go 5-12 again. I think it's more repeat. I don't like the quarterback situation. Obviously, Derek Carr retires. Tyler Shuck appears going to be your starting quarterback there. I just don't have a lot of faith. And Chris Olave, where's his health at? Can he come back and play at, the top level that we've seen in the past? That's a big if. The backfield, I think, is a huge question mark. It just, to me, again, I want to keep this brief. I feel like it all is going to derive from having to stick a quarterback in there who's a rookie. Granted, he's 25. He's not like he's he's played a ton of football at this point.
Seven seasons.
So, but again, I don't feel great about the Saints, and I think a lot of it just has to do with what's going on in quarterback.
Yeah, I think this is a big time retreat for me. I think this could be the worst team in the NFL. I mean, when you look at everything, there's a reason they did not get one primetime game this year, because the NFL does not want us to watch the New Orleans Saints, and for good reason. I think this roster is a lot older than you think. The only true blue chip player they have under the age of 28 is Chris Olave, who you just talked about, has concussion issues. I just don't see any good reason to back the Saints this year. They're aging at a lot of key spots. There's not a lot of young talent coming through. They really need to hit the reset button. They've been striving for mediocrity so long. That's why I really didn't like the Tyler Shuck pick, because the worst possible scenario for the New Orleans Saints is you play Tyler Shuck and he's just good enough that instead of winning 2 games this year, getting the first pick of the draft and saying, come on home, Arch Manning, well, you win 5 games and you don't have a shot at the quarterback you want, because this New Orleans Saints team needs something to happen. They keep going about their business the same exact way, and they just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And their ceiling is absolute positive ceiling is 8 or 9 wins tops. And what are you doing? You're just spinning your wheels. So I think the Saints are going to bottom out this year. I think they're going to be really, really, really bad. I think they're going to get one of the top 3 picks. They're going to get that quarterback in next year's draft, whether it's Arch or somebody else. And then you can kind of start to say, all right, we need a new era of New Orleans Saints football.
Yeah, I retreat on the Saints. I think they are going to be the worst. But the agent of chaos in me, this is how I want it to go down. I want everybody to sit there and all year put the bricks together of Arch to the Saints, only to have the Saints get the first overall pick. Archie looks at it and says, not a great situation around the franchise right now. Let's stay back for another year in Texas. And then all of a sudden, there's no Arch.
Can you imagine Archie Manning orchestrating that? Saying, I don't want my kid to play for the Saints. Look what happened to me.
This is the villain turn I need for Archie Manning. All right. What about the Panthers? 5-12 last year. Over under on them 6.5. So Vegas is a little bit of rise. Frank, where are you on the Panthers? Rise, repeat, or retreat from last year?
I'll kind of say repeat, because the one thing about it is this is probably the worst defense in the NFL. I get why they drafted McMillan in the first round. I do. They still just need to grab best player available, but they did spend a little bit of money in free agency on defense, but not enough to turn this defense around. This was by far the worst defense in the NFL. Even an improvement doesn't get them out of the bottom 5. So I just think the defense is going to be bad again. The good news is we have some hope for Bryce Young. I think he's on the right path. I think they can feel good about their direction of quarterback now, but I don't see some breakthrough coming. I just think this is going to be a pretty bad football team once again, just because their defense is going to drag them down. But we all knew this was a multi-year rebuild. So I just think they're going to be about the same. They're going to be a little feisty. They're going to pull off some wins. They were they almost beat the Chiefs last year. Let's not forget that. They were pretty feisty at the end of last year, but overall, I just think there's so many flaws that I can't be too excited about them going into this year.
Yeah, I agree with Frank. I mean, I think it's probably a repeat situation, but with high, you can see the crawl in the right direction. For them to win, I'm sitting there and I'm staring at the over under 6.5 games. Maybe I take the over and say 7. But even looking at that, with how bad that defense is, as Frank said, I mean, it's basically barren at this point. And you're going to have to score a ton of points. And are we like Bryce turned it in the right direction, but are we ready to look at the Panthers and go, okay, Ted McMillan, that's a nice addition. Jalen Coker, I think a very underrated player given how he produced in a limited number of games last year. Xavier Legette, I think Jatavion Sanders as a tight end is going to start to spread his wings a little bit. There's a lot of nice young pieces. It'd be great if Jonathan Brooks hadn't blown out his ACL again and would actually be a part of the 2025 season. But Chuba Hubbard's a good back. I think offensively, we're going to see Dave Canales really start to get it moving, and you will see some growth there. I just don't think they would have to win shootouts to me to really be a rise team. But I guess could I see him winning 7 games? Maybe, because it's the NFC South. And I think everybody's kind of got warts in the NFC South. But I do think it's more of a retreat situation with the hopefulness that the offense now looks like it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm kind of repeat on the Panthers. What about the Falcons? 8-9 last year, over and under 7.5. C-Rob, rise, repeat, or retreat on Atlanta compared to how you felt a year ago right now?
Man, this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one for me. Because so much of it is predicated on Michael Penix, right? And so much of it is predicated, I think, defensively. You went and you drafted 2 defensive ends in the first round. I think you have to get production immediately because, they need pass rush in the worst possible way. They've got to get it out of rookies right away. And it's a little iffy. It's hard to depend on, edge rushers coming out of the box as rookies and just blowing it up, which is really what they need. But again, I do think a lot of this is where the young players now go surrounding Penix. Bijan, can we see him step onto the level of like Saquon Barkley last year? I'm not saying 2,000 yards rushing, but just be a dominant running back, regardless of the circumstance. Drake London, does he take a big, step forward that, I think we've seen him moving again in the right direction, but does Penix put it together? Now he's had the whole offseason passing program. He'll have had the whole offseason passing program as the number 1 quarterback. I thought he showed glimpses last year down the stretch. But in no way did I look at him and go, yeah, he'll take that big step in year 2. That to me is the must. So I'm going to do this with every team. I think repeat. I think it's going to be a lot of the same situation from last year.
I'm in a little bit of retreat mode because I can't sit here and tell you I feel better about the Falcons and the NFC South than I did at any point in the past year. We came into last year with such high hopes, right? Like, oh, wow, Bijan and Pitts and London and all these guys. And I thought we saw a lot of the flaws of the Atlanta Falcons throughout last year. Cousins wasn't good for sure, but Pitts obviously just ain't it. Like it ain't happening. Like I keep hearing about the breakout every single year, and it's just not happening. The guys around Drake London in a receiver room, and not really great. Bijan's awesome. And look, if you want to say, I think Michael Penix is going to be a star in this league, and he's going to have that second-year jump, I can buy it. I can see it, but we're basing this off a very small sample size. Where he looked, like you said, Charles, he looked good. Like he looked promising, but I'm not like that guy's arrived. He's an absolute superstar. So if Penix makes that big leap and these first-round pass rushers fix that issue, okay, I can see the Falcons being better, but I'm not betting on that. I'm going to say I feel worse about the Falcons competing for a division title than I did at any point in the past 12 months.
Are we all repeat on the Buccaneers? 10-7 last year, 9.5?
No, not at all.
No,
I'm right.
Frank?
I think the Buccaneers are one of my sleeper teams in the NFL. Okay. I think they're very close to being a Super Bowl contender. I think this offense is awesome. I think adding Ibuka in the first round was a little bit unconventional, but when you look at it, you're like, make your strength stronger. We're just going to make Baker. We're going to make Baker Mayfield the best quarterback we could possibly make him. This is a team that won at Detroit last year. They should have won at Kansas City if they go for 2. That's just a bad mistake that they made, and it let Patrick Mahomes win in overtime. But this is a team I think is right there. I think they're very, very close. Now, can the defense take the next step? Maybe. We'll see. But I look at this team. I think they're loaded. I think Bucky Irving's awesome. I think Baker has come into his own as one of the best NFL quarterbacks in the NFL. I think they win this division by 3-4 games. I have high hopes for the Buccaneers this year. And I can see a scenario where we're sitting here at the end of the year saying the Buccaneers can win a Super Bowl. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. I really have high hopes for the Bucs this year.
Bro. Let's relax a little bit.
No, trust me. Mark this out. I'm wrong a lot, but this is like Commanders last summer. This is going to be one of my teams. The Buccaneers might be my
Super Bowl. Brock Purdy, but hell yeah, Baker Mayfield. Let's absolutely win. I'm a repeat guy. I'm going to top to bottom repeat. And look, here's my problem with the Buccaneers. As Frank said, I do think they have the potential to be a juggernaut on offense, a lot better. However, you lost Liam Cohen, which I don't feel great about.
That's big, Charles. I mean,
it was great for the run game. I mean, absolutely energized the run game. I think, held it together for Baker when a couple receivers go down, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin go down. I think my question is, can we really continue to do this? And I love Mike Evans. Don't get me wrong. Like, he looked amazing last year, but I'm like, you got to hit a wall eventually, right? Like, the dude, he's not a Terminator, right? He can't play like this for the rest of his life. So I wonder if that ledge is coming, and I wonder if that ledge is in 2025. I don't know what Chris Godwin's situation is going to be health-wise. They seem optimistic about it, and yet you go and you take Emeka Egbuka in the draft, which I loved. Actually, I don't mind that. I'm with Frank. I like stacking assets, and you know what? If you can run 4 wide out there, go ahead and do it. And I love Bucky Irving as well at the running back spot. I just think the uncertainty with those top 2 guys, because when Godwin was off the field and Evans was off the field, it was a much tougher sledding than with them on it. And so I'm like, okay, if we get them 100% healthy, then I think this is an offense that can really, tear the lid off. I think, because I can't discount Liam Cohen, being out of town. Like, they clearly thought enough of him. They did everything they could to bring him back into the fold. And, I think losing him stings. So let's see what the running game looks like. Let's see what the health of the receivers look like at the top. And then I think you go from there. But to me, it's a repeat. And I don't have a problem with that. I think 10-7 is fine. For that franchise where it is right now. I still think they're in a more of a building mode than maybe Frank does.
Mark the tape. The trash talking will begin. That's it for us. Rate, review, subscribe, hang out with us. We appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Follow us on social media. Keep all eyes on Yahoo Sports as we'll keep breaking down everything that happens from the owners' meetings. And most importantly, have a great week.